So you want to make those Pierre Bourne type loops, you want to get that Playboi Carti vibe, that chill vibe. In this video I'll be showing you guys exactly how I made this loop. By the end of the video you guys will know everything about this loop, how it was made, how I layered the sounds, the effects. Most importantly, in a few minutes you will probably be able to make the same kind of loop all by yourself. So let's get into the video. As you can see already, this loop is basically divided in 5 sounds that I used. And let's get to the first one, and those are the bells. Bells are very basic. I'll first of all show you guys what they sound like without any effects and anything added to it. The sound that has been used right here is the wavetable bells in the bells folder of Expand. First thing that I did and that I recommend you guys to do is very important. Just play around with the velocity when you're making loops. Velocity right here is different. So if I would have had the same velocity for each note, this is what it would have sounded like. You don't want that, you don't want none of that. Just give it changes in velocity and you get something like this. Something like a delay kind of effects. It'll sound much better and it's like these small details. So let's get to the effects. What I did to these bells is basically I added a parametric EQ just to cut the low ends and the high ends because I thought it was kind of harsh. The bell was sounding kind of hard. This is with a parametric EQ with it. And then it becomes very small and very subtle, so you have a lot more space for other sounds to add. Next thing I did is very slight detail. It's just the wave depth of isotope villain to detune it a bit. You barely hear it, but it's a small detail. Alright, those were the bells. Most important takeaway from the bells is basically play around with velocity when you're making loops. Don't have them the same velocity, play around with it, and I'm pretty sure that most of the time the loops will sound much better. The next thing I did was I added chords to it. Chords without any effects at all, they sound like this. Very harsh, very like in your face kind of like, I don't like them a lot like this. So as you can see, once again, I played around with the velocity. The lower notes, I lowered the velocity. Sound that has been used right here is Warm Whoa Plus from Polysynth. Expand again, I love Expand. If I'm correctly, this was one of the plugins that once they sold for $1. Just like, I don't know, that's a marketing trick or anything, but keep an eye on it because they have very dope sounds. It's kind of underrated. But anyways, let's get to the sounds. This was not sounding very well. Now I added effects too, and the first thing I did, let me show you guys, was I added growth speed. Listen up, if I put it on 100%, that's too much, so I drag this thing back to 50%, and then you get this small detail in it as well, and you can do it with any effect. So this is just a thing you can keep in mind if you want to add growth speed to it, and if too much effect in it, just play around with this knob or this knob, and you can do it on 50%, maybe even 20%, and you get these small details and small variations in your melody. The next thing I added was halftime, and basically it just dragged it 1 octave or 2, I'm not sure, down. It gives that underwater effect, like if you know what I mean. Last thing, obviously, I added parametric EQ, just the low ends, and that's basically it. Then you get these chords, add them with the previous melody we had, you get this.
Roses are red, violets are blue.
Everybody knew got much kung fu.
Let's get to the next sound. The next thing I did was a very simple hit. I do this a lot, just very random hits, and this is what they sound like. As you can see right here on the parametric EQ, I did this on purpose. I wanted to have only the high frequencies for this hit. As you can see, I lowered the volume right here. And it's a very distant but mainly high frequency hit. At the same time it stands out and it adds a bit to the loop. So now if you add the hit to it, the high frequencies, this is what it sounds like. Very distant, but it still adds something to the loop. Now the next thing I did, and this is basically my favorite part of the whole loop, is I added a pad to it. And this pad, first of all, I'll take all the effects out of it. I'll take all the effects out and I'll show you guys how it turned out to be. This is what it sounds like. See, it kind of reminds me of that little baby song, that Christmas or Cocaine.
Bunch of hookers and cocaine.
I don't know the title exactly, but that little baby song. What I did to this pad is first of all lowered the volume a lot. Next thing I did was I added crystallizer to it. Crystallizer, it basically gives it a bit more delay, a bit more reverb kind of. Default preset again, and this is what it sounds like with crystallizer. The thing is, this loop by itself, it does not sound very good at all. I mean, it sounds good, but it's too small. But if you add it to something that we had before, this is what it sounds like. Very distant, very subtle, it's a very low velocity, but it adds a lot to the vibe. If you're enjoying watching this video, make sure to leave a like, it'll help me a lot, and let me know in the comments which tutorial you would like to see me do next. Now let's get to the last sound. The last sound that I use is it's expand, and it's called the Fuzzy Sauce 1. It's basically kind of the same as the chords. This is what it sounds like. Basically the same thing as the chords, just a note less. What I added to this was I added parametric EQ to cut out some of the mid frequencies, because the chords mainly had mid frequencies right here. And I added effectrics. First of all, you can hear it without effectrics.
Boring.
And now if I turn it on, this is what it sounds like. The effect, I like it a lot. And if you don't have effectors, don't worry, I'll show you guys. You can go to gross beat, and you can go to a few presets to the right, and you can click it, and it's basically the same thing. Take a listen. If you do not like this version of it, you can even go to Fruity Phaser right here. If you don't like this one and all the presets, you can go to Fruity Flanger. It's kind of the same thing again. You got so many options. I just chose effectrics by default because I use it a lot. And if you sum all these sounds up, if you sum them all up, basically this is what you get. As you can see, I divided the loop in 3 parts. That's basically if I send it out to another producer to collab, he already has 3 parts, he has variation in it, and he can play around with the arrangement of the beat.
Nice.
If you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to leave a like. Definitely don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in next week. Probably another beat challenge, but anyways, in another video. That's it for today. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys next week in another video. Probably be able to make the same kind of loop. You're probably make sure to stay safe,